Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Canal International. We'll begin with our top stories. The police unit in charge of schools and universities have called on parents to double vigilance on their children, as many students have adopted new strategies of mingling and consuming of drugs. The students have settled on alternative yet to be known by teachers and parents. We'll tell you more in this edition of Newscast. And Cameroon's trade balance has reached a historic low in 2023, with the countries grappling with a record-breaking deficit, according to a report released by the National Institute of Statistics. The deficit surged into 2,004 billion francs CFA, marking the highest level since 2015. And after boycotting the meeting with Faker Food on Friday, May 10, the newly appointed head coach of the Indomitable Alliance, Mark Breeze, has finally honored today's invitation for a working session with the Faker Food governing body. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. Welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. A 17-year-old student has drowned in Kribi in the Ocean Division, a south region of Cameroon, a day after completing the sports test of the bureaucracy examination and equivalent of the ordinary level in the French subsystem of education. The 17-year-old Bessin Janelle was a student of Government High School Bolowa. She tragically drowned while swimming at the Zoa Beach after participating in a sports exercise at the Government Bilingual High School in Kribi. More with that story with our reporter Gladys Abu Tiba.
The BPC sports exercise in Kribi in the Ocean Division of the West region took a tragic turn with the untimely death of the 17-year-old Besseni Genial. The student from Government High School Ebolowa had traveled to Kribi for the sport activity. However, what should have been a joyous occasion ended in heartbreak when Besseni Genial, along with former classmates, went for a swim at Zoe Beach after the day's event, resulting in her demise. The incident occurred at around 6 p.m. while we were at home. We received information that some students were drowning. Upon arrival, we found 2 students in distress. Thankfully, my younger brother managed to save one of them. Despite our efforts, we were unable to locate the other student. A day later, we were notified of a body floating in the river. One of my brothers used his canoe with the assistance of a friend to retrieve the remains. Local traditional leaders expressed concern over the recklessness of young people, emphasizing the need for guidance and supervision when swimming. I would advise that anyone who comes here to swim should seek guidance from a local expert, like a swim master, to ensure their safety. Unfortunately, many young people today jump into the water without seeking advice, and we are seeing the consequences of that. Despite the overwhelming grief, Bessini Genial's parents chose to keep their emotions private and declined to comment on the matter. Following the tragic incident, authorities promptly intervened and the student's body was respectfully handed over to her family.
The police unit in charge of secondary schools and universities as well have called on parents to double vigilance on their children, as many students have adopted new strategies of mingling and consumption of drugs. The students have settled on alternative yet to be known by the teachers and the parents, all called to join forces and remedy the rising phenomenon. As a reporter, High-Sencha tells us more.
These are all equipments and hard substances uncovered from students in different institutions in Yaoundé. Drugs of different types that the young Cameroonians are drowning themselves into.
These quantities, these are small quantities that they sell during classes and they consume.
Even items that appear physically normal have abnormal content.
When you look from the eye view, you think that it is a torch or it is a perfume. But when you go detailing, you see that it is a shisha. When you look at this one, you think that it is a telephone. This is also a shisha electronic. This is the system of charge. So they charge from here, and then they inhale it from here. Here we have the Bibles and the Quran. Students, since they know that we cannot search the Bible and the Quran, they use it to hide weapons like razor blade, or they use it to hide the numbers, the telephone numbers of the people who are supplying them the drugs.
Deploying at the government bilingual high school Mimboman Yaoundé this May 13, the unit for security of schools and universities sensitized the young learners to stay free from such drugs, destroying their lives and their future. The school authorities lauding the collaboration of the police in curbing the rising phenomenon.
Given the fact that Mimboman is a very difficult quarter, and at certain moments we have foreigners coming into school in school uniforms who are not students, and with the help of the SOCIETE, they have been very helpful, not just in apprehending some of the foreigners, but also they do rounds in the classrooms, which has really helped to reduce the amount of drug consumption.
But the change of tactics by the students remains a big challenge for the security officers.
The challenge is that the students are very, very ingenious. They change their tactics every day, so we are here to fight to know what they are doing and see how to counteract them. So they change their tactics every day. When we catch them this way, they go the other way. So, but we are trained for that.
They urge parents and guardians to exercise more vigilance, checking the content of the students' bag daily and reaching out to the unit. Immediately, they notice a changed behavior in the children.
All activities of SOCIETE and Urban Transport Agency has been suspended for a period of 7 days, a decision signed by the Minister of Transport, which he describes as a precautionary measure in compliance with the regulations in force. Besides the suspension, the Minister has requested for the opening of a technical and administrative investigation in a bid to establish the different causes that caused the accident. It should be recalled the road accident occurred on May 8, 2024 in Douala, specifically or especially at Valley Besenge. The SOCIETE bus hit 3 cars and 2 motorbikes, successfully killing 2 persons and injuring 5 others. The corpses were transported to the Lankentini Hospital mortuary, while those injured were immediately rushed to the emergency ward of the same hospital. And as Cameroonians anticipate the upcoming Unity Day celebrations, which commemorates the union of East and West Cameroon, a range of emotions prevail amidst ongoing crises and societal discord. Some emphasize the day's significance. Others voice frustration and deep-rooted issues that continue to fracture the nation. Gladys Ambodebang talked with some Cameroonians on the streets of Douala. Her story.
Against the backdrop of political turmoil and social upheaval, Cameroonians are preparing to observe Unity Day, an important event symbolizing the amalgamation of East and West Cameroon into a unified state. Despite the challenges faced by the country, some still believe that Unity Day holds value and significance. It is an important event for Cameroon. By commemorating this day, we honor our history and demonstrate our patriotism. I personally hold this day in high regard.
Le 20 mai, c'est l'état unitaire pour le Cameroun.
Unity Day is a national event that celebrates the unification of two Cameroons. It holds value because it represents our shared history and it remains ingrained in our collective memory. However, amidst the commitment to honor unity, there were concerns and grievances expressed by some highlighting the challenges that undermine social cohesion, such as the ongoing crisis in the country.
Ne serait-ce que sur le plan de la sécurité.
The security situation is complex of unity. It's difficult to talk about unity when we are facing another crisis on southwest and north regions. Although tonight the practical divisions are evident, nonetheless, unity remains an important occasion to reflect on unity of the nation. To me, Unity Day no longer holds the same value it once did. Unlike before, when people would mobilize and actively participate, there is a growing sentiment of indifference. As the nation prepares to mark this significant occasion, the sentiments expressed by some Cameroonians reflect the complex realities that shape discourse on unity and national identity.
And the International Human Rights Law recognizes the rights of citizens to participate in political decisions through elections. Article 19 and 21 of the Universal Declaration of a Human guarantee free speech and the right to take part in government through free and fair elections. The executive director of the Center for Human Rights and Peace Advocacy during a workshop today in Douala drilled journalists on how or the type of reports to do during pre and during the time of elections. More in this story with Kize Kiga.
Journalists play a crucial role in reporting on elections, providing information about candidates, campaigns, and potential fraud or violations. In the line of elections reporting, they face threats. However, they often face threats to their safety and press freedom during electoral periods. According to the Peace Advocate for Human Rights, journalists must be able to work freely and safely.
The main reason for organizing this workshop is to develop the capacity of journalists to be able to report on elections based on human rights. So the topic is human rights and election reporting. And we know that this is, we are actually at the verge of the electoral consultation, and it is important that we begin to see what are the electoral practices, what are the things that we need to know, the public need to know.
There is a disconnection between the media and public, especially during elections. Colbert Quine expatiates more.
There be a disconnect between the media and the audiences and the public, and so it's important. And you know that election coverage is a very critical time in the life of a country, and the highest journalism standards are expected during elections.
This is what some of the journalists were able to retain.
In this regard, it is important for me as a journalist to learn what I've just learned here today, that being fair, being objective, being balanced is my contribution as a journalist into making the elections to be free and fair as well as peaceful.
The journalists also called on the youth to massively participate during 2025 upcoming elections. For if you need a change, we must cast our vote.
Cameroon and the International Labour Organization, ILO, will tomorrow, May 14, seal a partnership agreement with in Yaoundé, high point of a 3-day working visit of its Director General, Gilbert Hogbo, in Cameroon, apart from government officials like the of Labour and Social Security. Monday, the visit of ILO Director General will meet with a Labour trade unionist, employers, associations to get an in-depth appraisal of the labour climate in Cameroon. More with our reporter, Beatrice Ngamo.
Cameroon is an important stakeholder in the International Labour Organization. She is not only one of the member states, but also member of the governing body, that is, the Board of Directors. Gilbert Humbo's discussion started here at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Discussion with Minister Gregoire Oona on the upcoming agreement and others.
Tomorrow we're going to sign our agreement for the coming 3-5 years, very, very well aligned with the global cooperation with the United Nations system. We discuss the child labor in the supply chain, the importance for us to continue working to ensure that our kids are much more at school. We talk about the future and the future of work, including the artificial intelligence and how to ensure that youth employment, and it's really at the forerunning of the government action.
The visiting International Labour Organization Director General Gilbert Humbo's audience continued with other government officials, extended to employers, associations and workers' trade unions, amongst others. The 3-day visit occasioned to get the pulse of the working environment in the country, the challenges and the way forward. The former Prime Minister of Togo has been in this post since last October 1st, 2022.
And after boycotting a meeting with Faker Foods last Friday, may attend the newly appointed head coach of the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, Mark Breeze, finally honored today's invitation for a walk-in session with the football governing body, accompanied by other members of the Faker Food appointed technical staff. The meeting, chaired by the Secretary General of the Federation, focused on key issues like the latest publication of the list of the players. And that's how we saw it on today's edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal, the International. Thanks so much for watching. Take another rendezvous, same time tomorrow. Good night.